Starting plants from seeds can be so rewarding, but also a little bit challenging. One of the biggest mistakes that most new gardeners make when they're trying to start seeds indoors is they choose the wrong mix to start their seedlings. Choosing the wrong mix can result in a host of problems: low germination of seeds, pathogens that attack the seedlings like fungal diseases, larvae in the soil that eat away at the roots of your seedlings. The list goes on and on. But fortunately, it's relatively easy to fix this problem. So today I'm going to share with you a few options that are hopefully not as hard on your pocketbook as buying a seed starting mix in a bag from a store. So I've got some seed starting mix here, and there are basically three ways that you can create seed starting mix. One is you can go to the store and you can buy yourself a bag of seed starting mix. Now that can be a little bit pricey. The other extreme is you can DIY your seed starting mix. Believe me, it is really easy to make your own seed starting mix. Let me just show you the two ingredients that you need in a seed starting mix. Okay, so before I show you the ingredients that you need, let's talk a little bit about the properties of a good seed starting mix. Number one, it needs to be light and airy. Little seeds need lightweight soil, and they need oxygen in the soil in order to be able to successfully sprout and grow. The second thing is it does need to have a little bit of moisture retention capability, because the seeds need to be moist until they germinate, and little seedlings will dry out quickly. The third thing is that it needs to be inert as much as possible if you're starting indoors, because diseases do tend to come from the outdoors. So I like to use a good inert seed starting mix. And speaking of inert soil, I do not like to add things like compost to my seed starting mix. Compost does tend to bring life to the soil, and with life, the good microbes also come some of the bad pathogens. And while the seedlings are growing indoors, I just want to keep it as clean as possible. Seedlings are very susceptible to pathogens, and if they are not in the outdoors where they've got the sun and other things that kill off these pathogens, they will tend to succumb very easily. So I try to keep my indoor seed growing environment as inert and as sterile as possible. Now I will fertilize my seedlings once every 2 weeks, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Okay, so here are the two ingredients that I typically use in my seed starting mixes. This is peat moss. You can also use Coco Coir, and it retains water really well, and it also is inert, so that's a good thing. And I also like to add vermiculite. Now, vermiculite is an extremely lightweight volcanic product, and it helps create that aeration in the soil. Peat moss does tend to kind of mat up if it doesn't have anything to break its texture, so vermiculite really helps with that. It's also extremely lightweight, and it does a little bit of water retention as well. So yeah, I add these 1:1. You can also add perlite. You can add compost if you choose. That's all up to you. But those are the basic ingredients that go into seed starting mix. Now, if you look at this peat moss, you will observe that it's got things in it like twigs and little pieces of wood, etc. And so one very important thing that I do when I make my DIY seed starting mix is I will sift the peat moss to remove all of these bigger pieces from it, because those will come in the way of little seeds germinating. Now, if DIY is not quite your style, I'll give you yet another shortcut which will still save you money. It won't be as expensive as seed starting mix. Let me show you. This here is one of my favorite potting brand mixes. It's from ProMix. You can get the yellow bag, you can get the red bag, but basically the ingredients are pretty much the same, and it doesn't contain any material like compost, so it is very inert. And it contains some fertility as well. It's got some mycorrhizal fungi, some other stuff, wetting agent, etc. So you can take any potting mix, literally any organic potting mix, and you can sift it to remove, again, all of these big pieces, and you'll have a wonderful seed starting mix. So yeah, don't let them fool you into buying the expensive stuff. Now let me show you how I sift my seed starting mix. I've got a couple of options to share with you. When it comes to sifting your seed starting mix before you actually use it, you've got a couple of options. I've got this is a DIY that I've had for many years. You can see it's falling apart. It's basically some hardware cloth that I've stapled onto a frame. Or you can use something like this. This I actually recently got from Vago Garden, because this one is on its last legs. It's a beautiful modular stainless steel sifter. It's a once in a lifetime purchase, so it is really strong, and it actually comes apart so you can clean it if you need to, and it has got a 1/4-inch sieve, which will make the perfect size of crumb that is needed for your seed starting mix. So let's go ahead and sift that. You can see this is what we're left with, all these little twigs and bits that are too big for the seeds to be able to push through. And this is the beautiful seed starting mix. Now you want to moisten the seed starting mix right about when you're going to plant your seeds. You don't want to keep it moist, again, for the reason that moist soil does tend to come alive. And I am keeping aside a little bit of dry seed starting mix separately, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. And you want to moisten it till it is like crumbly brownie mix. When you squeeze it, you might be able to get just a little drop or two of water, then you know it's perfect. So the way that I fill up my trays is I actually fill them up and then I gently push down, not too hard. Remember that these are going to be tiny seeds, and so they need plenty of light, fluffy soil in which to germinate. So I just gently push it down with 2 fingers, 3 fingers, 4 fingers, whatever makes it go fastest. And then I refill it with soil. And that should be about right for them. Now I'm using this cute little 3-in-1 pop-up tray from Vago Garden, and I describe it more actually in my seed starting video, to which I will put a link to at the end of this one. I love using a squirt bottle to wet my seeds because you don't want your freshly planted seeds to move around too much. I'm actually going to be using my sieve to do just a very light dusting of soil. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure I discuss with you as well is the fertilization routine. Now, I fertilize my indoor seedlings every couple of weeks or so, in fact, whenever I water them, and that is only after they develop their first true leaves. Now, the fertilizer that I use is Schultz all-purpose fertilizer. I have no affiliation with them. I just really like this product. It is not an organic fertilizer. Again, I like to keep it as inert as possible indoors, but it has all of the macro as well as many of the micronutrients that plants need to succeed, and my seedlings grow really well with this. So I'll put a link to this as well, my Amazon affiliate link, if you're interested in purchasing this product. And you do want to bottom water your seedlings. I can't emphasize this enough because you want to keep that surface as dry as possible. So pour the liquid fertilizer in the tray, let it soak up for about an hour or so until you see the color of the soil changing from a light brown to a darker brown, and you can pour out the remaining fertilizer into your houseplants. So I hope you learned a lot from this video, folks. Please do ask if you've got questions. Share with me what you are planning to grow and what you're most excited about this gardening season. And I've made a video from start to finish, how you set up your grow station, how you plant your seeds, how you take care of them, pests, disease management, all of that good stuff, all the way through transitioning them into your garden. And I will leave a link to it somewhere up here. Until next time, live green and love your greens.